You've seen him in comics. You've heard of him in your bedtime stories. But here's the claimed proof from our own forces. The abominable snowman dwelling in the Himalayas. His mysterious trail apparently spotted after decades. The Yeti is real. The Yeti is on the prowl, claims the Indian Army. Fear not, the Army is on the hunt. On 5 Live today, is the Yeti monster real or just a myth? Well, those pictures that were tweeted out late last night by the Indian Army, I saw them and I couldn't believe my eyes, because the Indian Army claimed to have sighted quite categorically footprints of the mythical Yeti. Mythical creature that many over centuries claim to have seen. But there's been no real proof. There are many theories about what the Yeti really is. It lives in the realm of folklore, but there are theories that it could be a Himalayan bear or some kind of large prehistoric ape. Well, whatever it is, the Army's tweet has garnered a huge amount of attention in the international and Indian press. Certainly on social media, it's become a viral sensation. Some users have been simply astonished, while some have mocked and jeered at the Army's claimed discovery. Here's the full story.
Mysterious giant footprints in the snow. From high up in the Himalayas in Nepal. These images have gone viral across the world. Images put out late on Monday night by the Indian Army. The Army claims that these are mysterious footprints of the mythical Yeti sighted by one of their mountaineering expeditions in Nepal. Known for decades in popular culture as the Abominable Snowman, the mythical beast is believed to reside high up in the Himalayas of Lower Tibet. One of the pictures put out by the Army showed a large footprint in the snow. Another one showed a series of similar large footprints. The Army says the expedition saw the 32 into 15-inch footprints close to Makalu base camp in Nepal on April 9th, and that it has also video evidence from the site that has since been shared with subject matter experts. Their tweet garnered a lot of social media reactions, a mix of astonishment, skepticism, and of course, trolling. So some users called it a late April Fool's Day. Some gave a brilliant Game of Thrones reference. Taking a dig, Twitter users gave cartoon character Tintin credit, saying that it was he who first spotted the mysterious beast. Yeti or not, netizens had a field day on the Army's mythical beast tweet. On its part, the Army also insists the tweet is no joke. The people should keep an open mind, and that nature can sometimes spring a surprise. Whatever the truth, it's somewhere out there in the Himalayas. Bureau Report, India Today.
The moment I saw the pictures that were put out on Twitter and social media by the Indian Army, the first thing that struck me was that famous Tintin comic book and his adventure in Tibet. The cover has a picture of those very similar footprints, and yet this is a story that has garnered an amount of attention across the world that perhaps even the Army hadn't quite expected. Here's what the Yeti really is. It's called the Abominable Snowman. It's lived in the realm of folklore and mythology. Here's the history of the Yeti, and it isn't recent by any stretch of imagination. Abominable Snowman, the Yeti. The Army is on the trail of the mythical beast living high up in the Himalayas. So far, only spotted for real by Tintin in his crazy Tibet adventure. The ape-like mythical creature was reportedly sighted in the 1920s and quickly became local folklore. A giant brown, furry creature that roams the Himalayas. The creature was named Yeti by a British explorer who had documented footprints very similar to ones shared by our army. The people of Nepal and Tibet are convinced that the Yeti does in fact exist. Far from the Meitei or man bear is a glacier being that is rarely sighted because it stays away from humans. The scientific community isn't convinced. They believe that the Yeti is a legend, relegated to the realm of cryptozoology, with a recent study even showing that DNA studies of 9 samples which supposedly were from the Yeti were actually from Himalayan bears. As the mystery only deepens now, the Indian Army's pictures have no doubt have helped the people of Nepal turn the abominable Snowman into an everlasting tourist attraction. Bureau Report, India Today. Well, the most amazing thing about the Yeti story is that the army actually categorically said that they have sighted footprints of the mythical Yeti beast. There may be a contradiction there, but they've said it. This morning, the army actually provided more information saying that all of this data, photographs, videos, evidence of all kinds has been submitted to subject matter experts. So the army isn't kidding. They didn't make a mistake. It wasn't a false tweet. They are backing what they said. They're doubling down on that information and that tweet, and they're saying they have provided this information to subject matter experts. Let's discuss this. Let's find out what this really means, what the implications are, whether any of this could in any remote way be true, or is this just someone's imagination? Joining me live now, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General Infantry, the first Indian officer on Siachen during Operation Meghdut. This is an officer who has spent perhaps more time on the snowbound Himalayas than any other person alive right now. We've got Abhishek Bhalla, our defense editor. Also with us is Kanakmani Dikshit, one of Nepal's most well-known journalists and editors. And in a moment, we will also be joined by Mr. Siddhanti, who is a well-known mountaineer and a person who has climbed the 7 highest mountains across the 7 continents. Welcome to all of you. Abhishek, I want to start things off with you. I know that you and I have had very little sleep last night ever since the army came out with this tweet. We've been wondering where this came from. It was a bolt from the blue, but the army is backing it completely, Abhishek.
Well, Shiv, who would have thought that we would be discussing a story about the Indian Army and Tintin together? Yeah. And that's what is interesting about this story. Ever since the Indian Army tweeted about the possibility of spotting a Yeti in one of the expeditions in the Himalayas, there has been immense interest across the world now in what the Army is claiming, if it could be true. In fact, what we've heard is that the army is backing its tweet. They've said that whatever evidence in form of videos and photographs they have, it has been sent to experts to decipher whether this actually could be something which is called a Yeti, or if it's some kind of a rare animal that could be spotted in that area. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But this story is not going to end, Shiv.
You know, General Kulkarni, this story has made headlines across the international media, and nobody should be surprised by that. You know, whether it's werewolves or the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, in North America, something like this always tantalizes people. As someone who has spent a lot of time in the Himalayas, I'm sure you've heard the tales of the Yeti as well. So I want to ask you very personally, what did you think when you saw this tweet coming out from the army? Were you skeptical? Or what were you, what did you think?
First and foremost, well, it's mythical. That's the first thing. It's not been proven by science as yet. It's something which was seen for or spoken about 350 years back by that monk who saw it in the Himalayas and everything. When I would personally say that yes, these kind of footprints would be wild animals, no doubt about that. And they are, many of them brown bears, black bears, and huge ones.
Yes.
And generally in mountains, it does happen that when you have a footprint, it does tend to get a little bigger than what it would have.
Okay.
So when they say it's 32 inches by 15 inches, they will. They've measured it, there is no doubt. I personally would like to say that it would have been much better not to have claimed it, but should have probably stated it to say that, well, it brought back memories of what we heard.
True,
and
instead of categorically,
about.
yeah.
You know, we heard stories of Yeti or huge big footprints, and surprisingly we seem to have, they have brought back memories rather than claiming to have said that this is Yeti.
Because, you know, when we're talking to the army overnight, and today the army says that, you know, sometimes nature can spring a surprise, you know, let the subject matter experts decide on what this really is all about, and that they're trying to instill a scientific temper, which are all very noble things to say, but, you know, having made a categorical claim, one needs to see what really emerges. You know, anyone can keep an open mind, but it needs to be evidence-based. Kanakmani Dikshit, one of Nepal's best-known journalists, privileged to have you with us, Mr. Dikshit. What did you think of this story? You know, when the army came out with this, they've got an expedition, you know, in that national park in Nepal. What did you think, sir, when you saw the pictures and this claim by the Indian Army?
Well, I couldn't help but smile as I saw this tweet come out this morning.
Yes.
I thought in the beginning it was somebody had hacked the army Twitter feed, or that Indian army had become the victim of a hoax. And as time went on, I am incredulous indeed that they have doubled down, because here in Nepal we all want to believe in the Yeti because it is good for tourism, it is good mythology, but it is been scientifically proven more, as much as we want, that we'd like to investigate, that the sightings or the possible even artifacts that are supposed to relate to the Yetis are variously found to be that of the Himalayan black bear, that brown bear. It could the footprints that we like to think out of the Yeti are actually could be a snow leopard, could be a sparrow, could be a langur monkey.
Yes.
So as a result, I would just make this point that how embarrassing that military of South Asia has gone out on a limb to claim definitively the discovery of the Yeti.
Yes.
When the people of Nepal, by and large, have a scientific temper to know that it is something that we would like to be.
Okay, so you know, very interesting. You say that you thought maybe the army, you know, Twitter account had been hacked. You've also said that it's good for tourism because, you know, mythology around these mythological beasts, you know, creates a sense of intrigue and mystery, and there is a huge subculture of tourists around the world who would go to places like Scotland to see if they can spot the Loch Ness Monster. Similarly, in Nepal, to perhaps try and spot the Yeti in Nepal and Tibet. Satyarup Siddhanta, one of India's youngest mountaineers, you know, to have scaled the 7 big peaks across the 7 continents. He's been to the Everest peak, you know, and many of the big peaks in the Himalayas. Satyarup, what do you think? You know, I'm sure on many of your expeditions, you've heard the wonderful stories of the abominable snowman, the Yeti. What did you think when the army put out these pictures? What was your first reaction?
Actually, I thought about Tintin book, where in the Tintin I could see those pictures like the footsteps of Yeti. So, but then I also remembered about Tenzing Norgay, about Daniel, one guy is there called Daniel Taylor. He has spent more than 60 years in finding out Yeti. So, in way back in 1950s, like 51, Eric Shipton, he was the biggest, one of the renowned mountaineer. He found some footsteps when he was going to find a route near Everest, like, you know, a new route for alternate route for Everest. So that time he found and clicked some pictures of footprints. Okay, so then what happened was a lot of controversies happened, and because they were not substantial and all. So then National Geographic, no, there was Daily Mail. They have approached, I think, Edmund Hillary, and then Edmund Hillary did an expedition in search of Yeti in 1960s, and it was an exploration. And he found out some skulls and some other evidences, but then later on, much later, it was found that those were of some bear, like, you know, it was some hill bear, Asian bear kind of things and all. So that skull is still there in some museum. And but when we saw these pictures, that old memories, like, you know, whatever we red, those came up again, and it would be very interesting to see.
And that,
if
that really is what this is all about. Ultimately the memories, General Kulkarni, like you said, it's the memories that keep this story alive. Nobody needs an introduction to what the Yeti is. So in many ways, the interest being shown from around the world is not surprising at all.
See, what happens is something not always that you see these kind of big, huge animals, brown bear or black bear. They're very difficult to spot them also. And with the kind of equipment that we have, it's impossible to, to be able to say that something can miss out. It's not possible. So yes, I would say footprints, yes. No, let's not deny that because they are proven. They've shown us photographs that they are. But to claim that they're Yeti, I think it would be a little far-fetched. It would have been a little better had they said that it brought back memories of what Eric Shipton said in 1951 or what people talk of Yeti. We had only heard of footprints, but we have seen footprints. But not necessarily to say they're Yeti. True. I think they mean that.
We would be very skeptical if anyone else had said it, but when an institution as luminous as the army, which is familiar with the Himalayas, and General Kulkarni can stand testament to that, can say this, one really needs to wonder where this path is going to lead. Are there going to be some revelations? Is it all going to be a dud? We'll wait and see. We're going to keep the Yeti story. We don't know if the Yeti exists, but we're going to keep the Yeti story alive here on India Today. Gentlemen, thank you very much for this discussion. Very interesting story.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.